One thing that almost always works. Have you been trying to get more accomplished, trying to get more done, get more sales, I don't know, run faster, jump higher, whatever it is, there's one thing that can make a huge difference in your life. And in this video, if you want to know what it is, stick around because I'm going to share it with you right now. Hey, I'm J.R. Fisher and I want to welcome you to my channel. If you haven't been here before, if you're already a member of the Fisher family, great job. If you're not, go down there and click that subscribe button. If you click that subscribe button, I can tell you about videos, but only if you turn on notifications. You got to turn on notifications. Once you turn on all notifications, I can send you an email and say, hey, I just did a new video. You're part of the Fisher family. You're VIP. I want to tell you about it. Okay, I can do that every single time. Now I've been selling online since 2009 and I've sold millions of dollars worth of physical and digital products, and over those years I've learned a lot. So what I do on this channel for you is to share those things with you, those little tips and tricks that help people make money that you're gonna know that other people won't because you're part of the Fisher family. That's pretty cool stuff. In addition to that, I want to share with you that I've got a lot of different products. Matter of fact, my branded products are on thousands of websites including Walmart, so that's not too shabby, right? Great. Now what I'd like to also do is give you a free e-commerce course. It's a $97 value, but since you've chosen to watch this video, I want to give it to you for free. I'm going to put it in the description at the end of this video, so stick around and you can grab that. So you're trying to improve your business, you're trying to improve your results, and you're not getting the results you want, and I know why. I'm going to share it with you in just a second. It seems like stuff that you are working on somehow gets sidetracked sometimes, and you never seem to get stuff completed that you really want to do. So why is this? Why are you working so hard and yet achieving so little? Well, there's a little secret that I'm going to share with you in just a second, but I want to tell you a little story first. These disciplines that you have spill over, and what I mean is if you're super overweight, and I'm not picking on anybody that's overweight, but if you are, you may have other disciplines that you're not doing right. Maybe you're smoking, maybe you're not exercising, maybe you're not earning the money you want, and it has nothing to do with being overweight. I could pick any discipline that you're slipping on and they all seem to spill over. Maybe you're not the best mom or dad. Now I'm not saying that somebody's overweight or smokes is not a good mom or dad. I'm not saying that at all, but what I'm saying is if you are poor in some areas of your discipline, you're probably going to be poor in other areas. So that's why it's so important to worry about your health and your well-being and your mental state and all that, because they all spill over, and they also spill over into this part that you're probably watching this video for, and that's your financial situation. How much money do you have coming in? How much are you earning? Now before we get started, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to stop and think for a second, put everything aside, and tell me who you are. Just tell me who you are. Now sometimes people will say things like this. I'll get a response like, I'm Bob, or I'm Susie, I'm an office worker, I have a weight problem, and I do not have enough income. I never really have been good at technical things, and I've tried to make money online, but it just doesn't seem to work for me. I'd like to try to make some money online and hopefully quit my job one day. I'd love to maybe travel the world one day and earn more money and possibly even lose some weight, but I've never really been that physically active, so it's tougher for me than most people. Right now I got lots of personal problems, and I just want to be able to get through the day and be able to pay the rent. I really don't have any money to invest in a business, and I know it takes money to make money. If my taxes and gas prices weren't so high, I might be able to start a business. Now does this sound familiar to you? Can you relate to any of the things I just said? And if so, do you remember at the beginning of the video I said there's one thing that's preventing you from achieving a lot of things that you want to achieve, and I'm getting ready to reveal that to you. Hang on, okay? Don't go anywhere, but I want you to know these other things first. They're so important that when I reveal what the one thing is, you'll understand why all these other things are holding you back. Now I want to share a story with you. I spent 25 years in the car business, and I managed car dealerships, and I hired people and fired people and trained people and did all the things that a car dealership does. But one of the things we did, which I thought was always interesting, and I never did quite understand that, was ordering cars. I would sit down once a month with a factory rep, whether it be Ford or Chrysler, and I worked in Isuzu and Lincoln and all these different places, and we would sit down with one of these order forms and we would start filling it out, and we would say, okay, what do we want to order? And we would decide on how many cars, and we would guess how many cars people would buy. We didn't know how many cars people would buy. And then we would guess on some colors, and we would guess on some interiors, and we would guess on options. And then the factory rep would say, well, we have incentives on these cars here, so why don't you grab some of these? And I knew in the back of my head the reason they had incentives is because those cars weren't selling, so I had to take some of those. And that's how our orders went every month. It was never we're gonna just go ahead and build a car that somebody actually wants. It never went that way. It always went with what do we want to buy and what do we want to put on the lot, and we're going to try to get people to buy those cars. It was crazy. Here's what we were operating under, and what you are probably operating under now, and that is your conditioned thinking. Your conditioned thinking. So when Bob or Susie just told me who they were talking in conditioned thinking. They can't improve their situation because they're conditioned to think a certain way, and we were conditioned to, that's how you ran a car dealership. You would order cars and put them on the lot and try to sell them to people and talk them into colors they didn't want and equipment they didn't need, and just hope they would buy them. And you didn't intentionally do this. I mean, you just ordered cars, and sometimes they didn't like what you bought. And then along came a guy named Elon Musk. If you know Elon Musk, he owns a company called Tesla, and he said, I think we're selling cars wrong, and we're selling the wrong cars. What we should be doing is building a car that the people want, and building it when they want it, with the equipment they want it, and doing it in the color they want, and we could probably sell it for a lot of money. And guess what? He did that. And when he came along and said, I'm going to build an electric car, of course all the car manufacturers said, well, electric cars don't work because they only go 50 or 60 miles, and since they only go that far, we really can't sell them, and people want more miles. And Elon didn't have that conditioned thinking. Why? Because he wasn't a car person. He had never sold cars before, and he says, well, why don't we build a car that goes further if that's what people want? Done. He started off building cars that would go 200-300 miles. He's got ones now that go almost 500 miles, and that solved a problem. And he said, well, why do we have car dealerships? And they said, well, we have car dealerships because we have to repair the cars. And he says, why do we have to repair all these cars? And they said, well, because all these things break on gasoline cars. You have to get oil changes, and you have to get transmission fluid, and you have to get radiators, and you got to get air filters. And he says, well, if I build an electric car, we won't need all those things. We won't need the shop anymore. And they're like, well, no, you have to have the shop, because you see, the shop produces all the profit for the dealership. Selling the cars, we don't make any money on them. We make all the money on repairing them. And you said, well, that's kind of backwards. If we didn't have the shop, we wouldn't even need the dealership. Heck, we could sell cars from trailers. We could sell cars out of the mall. And when he said all this, the car guys were like, well, you can't do that. That's never been done, because they had conditioned thinking. And since they had this conditioned thinking, nothing was ever going to change for them until he came along. And when he came along and started selling these electric cars, guess what all the car manufacturers started doing? They started coming out with electric cars. Now, they haven't caught up to Elon yet, because he's always 3 steps ahead. He's already done his semi truck, and he's probably got other stuff in the works, and he doesn't reveal it to the world, so they're trying to catch up with the products he's already revealed. And the interesting thing was, Elon never ever used conditioned thinking, because he had bigger things he wanted to do. And the companies that have been around for a while, and the guys who ran these corporations and people who run these car dealerships, I'm not beating up the car business because I was in it, but they had conditioned thinking. It was always done that way. This is what they couldn't do, so guess what? That's what they were gonna do. Okay, so here's what you're doing right now. I'm telling you, I know what you're doing. You're using conditioned thinking. Every time you say something, you think it to be a fact, and it's really not. So let's go back through that scenario that Bob and Susie told us what they were and what they were doing, and let's analyze that and look at it one more time. So the first statement we heard was, I am Bob or Susie, and I'm an office worker. Bob or Susie is not an office worker. Bob and Susie work in an office, and that's what they're currently doing, but that's not who they are. Don't identify yourself with what you're doing right now. If you identify yourself with what you're doing, then it's impossible for you to do something else. The next thing Bob or Susie said was, I have a weight problem and I do not have enough income. Here's the truth. You do not have a weight problem. You are overeating right now. It's not a weight problem, and you're probably not getting enough exercise. So that's the truth about it. And as far as the income, you can change your income. Don't think that you're stuck at 50 or 60 or 100,000 a year or whatever you're at, or $15 an hour. That's just what you're currently earning. That's a movable item. That's not a stuck item. That's conditioned thinking. The next part, I never really have been good at technical things. No kidding. Nobody's ever been good at technical things in the beginning. This is something they had to learn. You know, I didn't know anything about selling stuff online when I started, but guess what? You can change that. The next part is, and I've tried to make money online, but it just doesn't seem to work for me. Okay, well, tried and continuing to keep trying are two different things. It doesn't mean if you try once you quit. I know when I tried in the beginning, I didn't make any money online, but I learned a few things, I applied a few things, I started making a little bit more money. It can work for anyone. You just got to do the right things. So far you may not have been doing the right things. The next part says, I'd like to try to make some money online and hopefully quit my job one day. Never say try. Try is not determining that you're going to do it. It's saying that you're going to try, and if it doesn't work out the way you want, then you're going to quit. It automatically says quit in the beginning. And hope does not describe determination. Hopefully I'll quit my job one day. Okay, one day is not specific. It doesn't even tell you when you're going to quit your job. So one day is every day or no days. The next part, I'd love to maybe travel the world one day. Once again, there's one day. Where in the world do you want to travel? And once again, there's that one day thing. You're not specific. You got to say where you want to go. And the next part says, and earn more money. Well, how much money? Okay, what is more money? More money could be $1 more a year. That's not a lot more money. So you have to be specific. And the last part says, and possibly. Possibly is like saying no, it will not happen. Possibly is a word you just don't want in your vocabulary. And it said possibly lose some weight. Well, losing weight is a bad thing. Okay, we don't want to lose anything, but if you make your goal to get in shape, maybe you'll be 150 pounds at the time. I don't know, you could pick a weight, but maybe lose some weight is so non-specific that the odds of that happening will never happen. And the next part says, but I never have really been that physically active, so it's tougher for me than other people. I love when people say it's tougher for them than other people. We're all just people. I had a gentleman I met named Sean Stevenson, and I'm going to put a picture of him up here on the screen real quick. Now, Sean Stevenson was confined to that wheelchair and had to have help every single time he went to the bathroom. And he became one of the top speakers in the world, worked with the Dalai Lama, worked with Bill Clinton, Tony Robbins, and he did it from that wheelchair. So I don't know what your situation is. I can't tell you. But I can tell you this, just because you haven't done it in the past has nothing to do with today, and it's not harder for you than anybody else. You're making it harder for yourself by your conditioned thinking. In the last part, right now I've got lots of personal problems and I just want to be able to get through the day and be able to pay my rent. It sounds like you have personal problems. Guess what? Everybody has personal problems. Nobody is not going to have personal problems. That's part of life, is personal problems. And if your only goal is to pay the rent, then that's the only thing you're ever going to achieve. You're never going to go any further than that. Now, the next part is, I really don't have any money to invest in business, and I know it takes money to make money. No, it doesn't take money to make money, because if that was the case, every lottery winner would become fantastically wealthy. They don't. They normally lose the money. What it takes is determination and hard work, and maybe you don't want to admit that that's not something you want to do. Now, if you do want to do it, all these things you can achieve. You know, it's funny, I talk to a lot of people, and I got to tell you, there's a huge difference, and I hear this all the time. People will say to me, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to succeed, to be successful. Now, that's a great statement, and it makes that person feel really good for a second, but there's a huge difference between saying, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to be successful, and I'm actually going to do it. See, actually doing whatever it takes to be successful is nothing close to saying that you're going to do whatever it takes to be successful. It takes hard work, it takes time, it takes discomfort, it takes all these things that most of us want to avoid. If you shy away from all these painful situations, whether it be making a video, whether it be staying up late or getting up early, you know what, you probably won't achieve what you want to do, but you can change that. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe below. Hit that subscribe button, and don't forget, ring the bell. Gosh, you got to ring the bell. If you ring the bell, you can become part of the Fisher family and be a VIP. And guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to send you an email every single time I do a video. That's awesome, right? Now, make the first step and grab my $97 course that I'm giving to you for free. I'm giving it to you for free, so you don't need money to make money. Go grab my course right now. It's in the description below. Click and learn, and I'll see you in the next video. Hey, thanks for watching my video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click that little bell right there so you can be notified every time I do a new video. Also, click on one of those videos there. Keep watching on my channel.